I'd wake up and there'd be nothing. I hardly said a word to my wife until I said yes to a divorce. I'm here a week now, waiting for a mission, getting softer. Every minute I stay in this room, I get weaker. And every minute Charlie squats in the bush, he gets stronger. Each time I looked around, the walls moved in a little tighter. TK here. I guess I'm just trying to do a video review. Don't know when I'll be able to get it posted even. And these gloves really cut down on dexterity. They're cool as shit looking. Anyway, yeah, so I decided to do a video on a subject that is kind of a sore spot for me. Anybody who knows my videos will be familiar with my wacky fucking haircut that I just got done today. That is probably not working for me. Oh wow, that absorbed a lot of sweat. Good thing I did not care about this tie, this cheap Goodwill tie that I bought on mistake. Actually, that's pretty cool looking. Should have kept it on. Anyone will probably know that I'm a blade head, a huge blade head. I like some blades. I think I like blades more than I like guns. That's a weird thing. 'Cause the last gun show I went to, you know, I mean, like, you know, my old man was all like, well, look at this here shotgun, look at this here AK carbine, look at this here M4, look at that. I'm just like, yeah, alright, but look at this sword. The swords really get me going. And yeah, I've got quite a collection of deadly weaponry. I think blades outnumber guns, possibly. And by guns, I just mean anything that shoots projectiles, airsoft, and CO2. I only have one gun. One real, you know, gun. So, obviously maintenance comes into play, and obviously, you know, I mean, I keep my swords oiled, all my high carbon blades oiled, I keep them, you know, put away and safely displayed, and I'm supposed to be able to know how to sharpen them. So let's just jump right into it. One of the biggest kind of insecurities about myself is that I'm not a very technical person. I don't know how to fix a car, and it's not that I never even try. That's another thing, is that I kind of have, every time that I go to do something technical, I have a whole bunch of, like, old people standing over me going, like, well, this here city slicker ain't never done no work with his hands. And I'm just like, no, I just didn't pay attention to what I was doing when I did it with my hands. Pretty much all the home projects that I ever did with my, like, father, building onto the house and stuff, I was just following his commands, and I never really like, thought about, why am I doing this? He'd be like, okay, drill in here. I'd be like, yeah, and like, I did a good job, right? And then I'm just like, I didn't think about why I was drilling in there. So if it ever comes time for me to, like, ever need to know how to fix something, I don't. But I'm only 22, and I think maybe I have time to learn, but maybe not. I always also get pissed off whenever someone, like, insinuates that you have to have known something from birth to be good at it. Like, you can't pick guitar up halfway through your life and get good at it. You have to, like, be doing it since you were 7. And I'm like, so basically we're just fucked after, like, you know, we turn 18, is what you're saying. I'm not really a fan of that line of thinking, but I can't rule it out, because to be honest, I didn't learn technical things really when I was a kid, and now I'm not technical. As opposed to everyone else in my family who was just exposed to this shit since the time they were 5. Anyway, so, it plays into one of my favorite, cherished, loved passions, blades. I cannot make them sharp. I know a little bit about metallurgy. It's not as simple as it sounds. You get a whole bunch of yahoos out there who think they know shit about guns, and they also think they know shit about blades. And they'll say, well, if you take a hang-danger, stainless steel. And I'm just like remember the redneck, that idiot who was doing that thing, the do-do-do-do, when it snapped on the QCG, the shopping network, and like it spun around and sliced his hand and shit like that? Didn't he say it was stainless steel? Well, what I know about metallurgy is that stainless steel ain't that strong. You ain't supposed to be making a big-ass long sword out of it. It'll work good for a little knife that you don't want to rust, because it's like 13% chromium in the alloy. I know a little bit about metallurgy, but at the end of the day, I don't know enough to, like, explain what a 9260 Chenna spring steel is. I just know that it's good. And only because I know that people have told me that. I'm just parroting what I've heard everyone else say. But, and I don't really understand. I understand the physics behind a lot of stuff, including, like, what makes the katana work. Which, actually, let's bring this up. Because on my first sword video, which was me swinging around a stainless steel wall hanger, which was dangerous as fuck, let's bring that back in. Let's, I have it sitting over here, right by this statuette lady. Let's just carefully get that out of there. Don't want her to tip over. I bought this as a cute little wall hanger. It's actually my favorite looking sword. But that's the thing, it's to look, not to play. I did not know that before. I liked the color of the wrappings, even though they're loose as shit, and the fake plastic race skin. I like the tsuba. Even though, I mean, just the runes on it, the way it's shaped, I think it's a great looking tsuba. But, it's probably some sort of, like, shit lead smelt. Anyway, so, what I pointed out in that review, and what everyone bitched at me about, actually, now I see it, I guess I understand what's going on. Basically, on most katanas, this is a wakizashi, which is basically like a sidearm, like your pistol to your rifle. The wakizashi was a short sword for close-range combat. You see these, maybe you can see them, I'm trying to get you, maybe you can, maybe you can't, because it's shiny. But there's a ridge of, on most katanas, a kind of swimming ridge pattern that splices the sword down. And what I was told, what I understand, is that when forging the katana, the reason it's one of the greater cutting swords of all time is because they put clay on the back, special mixtures of clay. You know, I don't know, I don't go deep into that, but different mixtures of clay the swordsmiths would put on the back while tempering the sword, so that the bullet point, which the geometry of the blade plays a shit ton into it. I know that European swords had really kind of a way too sharp and brittle, easy to break, you know, whereas the katana edge was more like a bullet, very rounded and sharp. Basically, if you made the back heat and temper less, the back was soft, the front was hard, the soft back would cushion the blade, you know, as it was cutting through hard materials, as opposed to a European sword, which was just hardness on hardness on hardness, which did cause the blade to chip a lot, if swung inappropriately, or to hit a hard target. Yeah, so this thing may be sharp, I really don't know. I tried cutting with it like a long time ago, and it didn't really cut, but it's not meant to because the steel is weak and can easily break, and it has a rat tail tang. Probably. I should dissect this thing. Yep. That's not good. I can tell you what a rat tail tang is basically, where rather than it being full tang, which would allow, like, you know, as the metal's going all the way down in there and you're just wrapping the handle around the tang, the bottom of the sword, instead of that, it just goes into like a crappy little piece of just straight, like the size of a rat tail, from here down. Try to swing that, it'll break, you'll kill yourself. End of story. So, right, but the point is you have a whole bunch of yahoos out there, and I mentioned that I thought the swirls were on the wrong side because I figured that it would have to be a majority of the blade be taken up by hardness and a small, soft back. It could be vice versa, but you had a whole bunch of idiots going like, well, you don't really know that actually there's a swordsmith's a bunch of... I'm like, can I say that in writing? Well, no, because my kendo teacher... Well, fuck your kendo teacher. Let me tell you something. Both me and Zach Wilde apparently went to, like, the same taekwondo school. Probably at different periods, but I stopped doing it, and one day he was like, wait, you went to that one? You went to that karate class? Oh my god, I went there later. And he's like, yeah, the guy who was like a blonde-haired instructor from Buffalo, New York, going, so when the Japanese planned to... Actually, Taekwondo is Korean, but that's my point, is that he probably wouldn't know the difference. Well, you know, when he was a bullshitter, he sold, what's the word? He was a snake oil salesman, he sold snake oil, and then ran off with a year's worth of payments, or so I'm told, which is why the dojo is not operating today. So, Tolstoy officially learned from the school of bullshit, and, I'm just saying there's a lot of bullshit floating around out there about everything, and metallurgy, swordsmithing, guns, how to care for your weapons, how the weapons are made, all of that is no fucking exception. So I've done a lot of research into... I don't know whether to turn that off or not. I've done a lot of research into how to sharpen and care for your swords and knives, and I just don't feel like I'm getting the right information sometimes, because I just cannot seem to achieve the edge I'm looking for. And they say it takes practice, but I can't even get the basics down, and I don't think I'm retarded or stupid. The principle must be wrong, or someone's teaching me wrong, or the equipment's wrong, or something, because I just cannot get a consistently good edge on these damn things. Not like the factory, you know, I mean, take, what do we got down here? What's this? It's a piece of cardboard, okay, here's a quick script from one of the skits that I've done that I haven't published yet. Let's go ahead and get out these and just, yeah, just like that. Yeah, just like that. See, that ripped. That's not good. It's sort of sliced here. Let me try this again properly and not, you know. Huh. Yeah, this isn't very sharp. I don't know. I just got this from the factory. It has... I might have been using it. That probably could be why. There you go. That's a proper slice right there. I don't know. Sometimes I've been able to put an edge on it and then it doesn't stay, or, you know, I just don't know. But let's get on with the damn video and I'll show you every fucking thing I've ever tried to make this shit work. Over here on my wall of death. Oh, I gotta lift the sword to get it. Let's move that gun down there. I'm gonna lift this little sword to get my nom bag. Medic bag from Vietnam. Gun show, very fun. Yeah. And let me go ahead and get out my case of knives, my knife case. Bigger knives. No, it's been a while since I've said that. And this shit that I bought last week. I have bought pretty much every contraption known to man in order to practice the art of sharpening my swords and my knives, my blades. Let's go ahead and open up my big old nom bag. Here's my nom bag. Hold some tools. Besides just cutting implements, I keep like tools in there. I'd like to go in order, but I don't think I can because sitting on top is the Lansky sharpener, which everyone recommends. I think it's needlessly complex. I understand the concept of what it's trying to do. Here's a damn pocket guide. It doesn't friggin' help. Looks cool though. Anyway. And basically, what you're supposed to do is clamp this onto the edge of your desk, which I would actually need a screwdriver, like a Phillips head or a flathead. But basically, you distance it long enough, wide enough to clamp this edge. If my finger was the edge of my desk, then you put the knife in here, and then there's gauges right here. And you secure... What are you doing? You secure the different grits of stone, of whetstone, which is what that is. It's a whetstone. This is a 120 coarse stone, so this is for taking off the most metal. The higher the grit in the stone, the thinner it obviously is, and the more of a polish it'll give. The lower the grit, the more it's going to take off stuff. So you would go ahead and... How would I do that? Motherfucker. I don't remember. You clamp your knife in there. Oh, right. You would unscrew this. It's not really coming back to me very, very fast, so you'll have to forgive me if I don't recall exactly what the hell is going on. I'm supposed to hold it at a certain angle, but I don't remember. There's some damn instructions on the inside. I'm looking at a monitor, a little graph of how that's supposed to work. Shit. Why did I pick this one first? This one was like a needlessly... That's right. Bastards. Ah, sorry. That was a weird reaction because I touched the whetstone, and I try not to touch the stone because I don't want my skin oil on there. And also, I don't want the metal shavings to go onto my skin. Okay, so you would stick this end in, tighten this shit right here. Mother. Okay, so then it's relatively tight, and as you're clamping, you would pick the degree of blade that you would like. The lower the number of the degree, obviously, the thinner the blade. The weaker it is, but the sharper that it is initially. The more likely your blade is to chip or dull quickly, but the less, the quicker, the easier that it goes through stuff. So you try to compromise, I guess. 17 degrees is like for straight razors. 20 degrees is for a very scary sharp knife. 25 is for if you want to get some shit done. Which I would prefer scary sharp for swords and get some shit done for, knives. So I guess you hold it at that degree, and then your knife is clamped in right here, and you would go like slide, slide, slide against the blade with, that being your guide. And I tried using that on several different knives, and I just could not get a functional edge. And I've even gone all the way down on that cheap wall hanger, well, it's not even a wall hanger, that shitty Walmart machete that people might know that I have. I went ahead and I tried to reprofile the bastard, just did not work. It's depressing as shit. I'm like talking about how I'm a loser. I'm a loser, baby. Whetstones. This was like an old whetstone I had in the garage from Arkansas, as some people will call it. This is a cheap, shitty whetstone for like 20 bucks that I got at Walmart. These don't work. They just don't work. I understand the concept, as you're supposed to use a little bit of lube. Here's my bottle of lube. Honing oil. And, yeah, and then you... If I had a knife that I didn't give a shit about. That's why I guess we'll go into the knife case for that. Okay. And collection of knives. This is an old liner lock that I don't care about. I mean, it was cool, but it served its purpose and it's damaged, so who cares? Put this back on the floor. So, damn it. I used to be able to open this bastard with one hand. It's gotten... The deploying mechanism is rusted, so it's not going to do it as much anymore. I just put an edge on this using a different tool we want to talk about later, and I thought it was functional before I put it away, but then, I don't know, so let's just have a test. Let's see if it's sharp at all. Alright, actually, particularly. Smaller knives are easier to sharpen and hold a better edge, but they're not as big and wicked scary. That's what I've been told. Don't gotta take the, you know, if you have some information that Tolstoy doesn't, go ahead and share, but don't share like an ass. See, then now why is it not cutting? What the... You saw the first cut! You saw that shit! Now what? So basically, it's like, I put an edge on it, and what, it loses the edge in a second? Well, now it's fucking... Yeah, there you go, now it's dull. Okay, so, basically, I guess I'll just show... I have another one. I have a different whetstone that's bigger than this, but I don't know where I put it, apparently. Hang on, it could be in my toolbox still, my war chest, which is pretty much changed into a toolbox. Where the f did I put it? God only knows where that whetstone went. That's not good. But I just lost it. Alright, well then on with the show. But that was my newer whetstone, and this is just a piece of crap that you're supposed to lay down paper towels or something. There's got to be metal shavings. It's going to be disgusting. You know that I'm doing this for your benefit, so we take a little dab of lube, and we go ahead and we add some lube onto our stone like that, okay? So, some people say you're supposed to soak the stone for so many minutes. The directions on this don't say to do that. Some people say to do it, some people say not to do it. That's another way where some of those, you know, different techniques, and I just don't know, okay? Okay, so we get like a nice kind of foam going on there. I'm doing it with the blade. It's probably not a good idea, but who gives a shit? I'm not going to do it with my finger. Some people do it with their finger. I'm trying to like kind of get it across the edge of the stone there. And I'm just going to give you a quick example of what I would do. They say you're supposed to go across it at a thin angle consistently, not to hesitate, which basically means you don't want to go scrape, scrape, stop, scrape, 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 and continue to go because you're going to fuck up the edge. It's got to be one quick, as though, quote, you are trying to cut a thin piece of the stone off. One more dab of lube. So I'm trying to get that whole stone covered. Alright, so basically what I would do is I would just take this and then it looks like a good 20-degree angle and just like that. And that does fucking nothing. I mean, I guarantee. I've tried going straight across, I've tried going straight with a little bit of a downward angle. It's like... And then I've tried going back, which is a little bit more difficult because you're going back towards yourself. Gotta do it where there's no, you know. Fuck. It's hitting the desk as it's coming off, and I'm not sure if that's doing any help to the blade. And I'm not sure how many times they say you're supposed to do this. They're just like, yeah, do it till it's sharp. And I'm like, well, when will that be? And they're like, meh. So, got a little cheap cloth I was dusting left down here. Go ahead and just wipe some of the excess oil off. I don't know if that's enough to put like a new bevel on there. I really don't know. Some people like to test the sharpness of the blade by, quote, plucking it. I really don't think that has any objective, because I've plucked the blade and that's it feels pretty sharp, and someone else has come along and plucked it and gone, nah, it's not sharp at all. I'm like, you know, well, what is this? This is not... If I were to judge, I'd say that's not very sharp. Okay, so then what the fuck did I just do? Yep, even worse. Has no cutting ability, almost. I mean, I'm not sure how long I would have to do that, or if I have to really reprofile the whole motherfucker. I don't know. So, you know... I wish there were better instructions. I've read so much on the internet that repeats some of the same myths, some of which say don't do those myths, some of which say go backwards when you do that, or some of them say go forwards, left to right, up and down. I swear to God, like, what do we, you know... And I've never been able to use any of the shit they told me to get a serviceable edge on anything. And I wouldn't even try it on one of my swords, even though I'm cutting myself. Obviously, what I'm doing here is a bad idea. Wish I had a glove on. You probably should have a glove, and you're really supposed to pay attention when you're doing this. Fortunately, this isn't that sharp, and I have stabbed and cut myself before. I don't like that, but... Okay. And I've heard a million things. I've heard that if you, the last stroke you do, you go straight down the stone, like that. You know what I'm saying? That you'll, I just touched it, so I probably just fucked up the edge. That you'll somehow straighten out the burr being a curvature of blade. That, you know, right as you're basically honing it, you're curving the blade like that, and then, if, you know, you're curving it a little bit like that, but it's always going to be crooked until, like, the last, you know, when you're finally really happy with it, you go one quick little light down, which is a huge no-no. Don't ever do that to your blade, supposedly, is what I've been told by the people, that it will straighten it out. I don't know. I really wish I could get some good information on this. I wish Cutlery Lover could go through a whole video about it. I know I'm just really not doing it right here. Maybe I need more lube, maybe I need less lube, I don't know. Do I need a reprofile? Fuck! It pisses me off. I feel so stupid, but I'm like, I'm just following the directions on all of the boxes, all of the internet, its instructions, and I cannot get a serviceable, what is it? Is it the styled steel? Or, there you go, a little cut, but I mean, Alright, well now it might appear that it's a little sharper, but I don't know. Is it subjective? If I had like a neutron, actually it is subjective. Okay. The whetstone wasn't working for me before. Well, why is it working now? I mean, is this any, I don't know. There, and now it won't work. Sort of. To be absolutely honest, ladies and gentlemen, the Sackboys should have been back in black for this one. I'm just realizing that I'm just teeter-tottering between them being there and them not being there. Which is just, it's whatever. Alright, so let's see. I want to dull this to the point where I can show you the last and final sharpening. Shift sharpening. I don't know how to... This is probably a dumb idea. It's a cheap throwaway knife. I know all the blade heads in the room are gonna when they see this, but this is an old shitty stone. It doesn't matter. I should use a file for this, but I don't have a file on hand. Oh wow, that fucked up the stone. I fucked up the knife. All right, now let's see if we can cut with it. That should have effectively dulled the shit out of it. Yep. No paper pierce this now. Absolutely had its balls cut off. That is neutering. Now, and I probably shouldn't do this on my desk, but whatever, I'll clean it up later. One of the latest things that I read on the swordbuyersguy.com, and that guy is a mensch. He will show you all of the good sword deals, and he'll tell you all about your swords and how to take care of them, how to use them, and I really like that guy. He's a man among men. Anyway, and he said, if you really don't feel like going through all of the steps that it takes to sharpen and hone a sword, which is infinitely more difficult than just doing this, and I have trouble doing this, he says, go ahead and get yourself an AccuSharp. I always had negative views of the AccuSharp because of an experience where my first pocket knife, the old-timer, which recently broke because of something that I did to it, it was a slipknot knife, and I left it half deployed in order to soak in some, maybe it was vinegar, whatever I thought would clear rust off of it. And, of course, the pressure of the mechanism, it's not supposed to stay half opened like this. On a liner lock, it doesn't fucking matter. But on a slip knot, it does. It puts all the pressure on that until it's snapped, and that was a huge problem. And, I had my uncle do it up with one of those hand sharpeners. Here's one that I got for $8 at a hardware store. It is not an AccuSharp, but it's based on the same idea, which I think the physics should hold up. It's set at supposedly a 20-degree angle, which is particularly sharp. Maybe that's 25. But either way, that's sharp, that's serviceable. But he went at that thing for like an hour. And then one day I had one to have my grandpa take a look at it. My grandpa, big engineer, knows mechanics, shakes his head when I say something like, you know, salt is salty. I'm just like, well, I just thought that cars run on pony love. I was pretty sure they did. You know. I was just like, hey, Grandpa, can you sharpen this? And he looked at it and said, well, what'd you do to it? And I was like, AccuSharp. And he's all like, well, look at the way that it's doing to this blade. And I'm not saying that his word is gold. I don't even know, because everybody says something different about everything on how to sharpen knives. It's almost like religion, like there's no objective fact about it or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, or I don't know. Anyway, and he said, let me take a whetstone to it, and he whetstoned it up, and I don't know. So since then, I had a problem with it. But then the Sword Buyer's Guide guy wrote a little guide on how to sharpen. He's like, look, and if you don't feel like doing that, you can use an AccuSharp. Now, however, he was doing that on a straight broadsword, which is easier to do than a katana, and the vast majority of my shit is not double-edged, it is curved, even if it's not necessarily a katana. But I bought this one up, and I figured to give it a shot. Basically, it should be pretty easy. It has two, I don't know what they are, on the AccuSharp, the brand name, the AccuSharp, it has two hard carbide blades that you're basically sticking the blade in and going down, and it's shaving off all the metal in the 20-degree angle, and it should put a serviceable edge on that bastard. But this is a cheap knockoff. I'm not sure if it's carbide. Carbide is incredibly hard. That could just be steel. Who knows? This could basically just be like one of those kitchen steels that you with. Yes, and I'm skipping all, you know, profiling, which is basically where you're shaping it with a file. I've done that to a paring knife and was actually successful once. I'm skipping the polishing stage with high grit stone, which that's pretty high grit. That's why it's not taking off a lot of metal. I would need like different sizes of stones, and I need a fucking big one. I don't know why they make all whetstones. Meh, this little biggie big. What if you're sharpening something this fucking big? Then I need a big ass stone. I need one like the size of my desk. S'il vous plaît. Pour favor. So anyway, enough ranting. Basically, if you just hold it straight and then go up the blade, which I was doing this, I was putting it down on the deck and then the sound is horrifying. The feeling is pretty bad. It's taken off a shit ton of metal, and I can actually see the metal shavings. Unlike the whetstone, that takes off a small amount of metal shavings, I can see a ton on this bastard. How long do I do this? I don't know. This is supposed to put a secondary bevel on this as well, which the bevel is the point at which the blade goes from being flat to sharp. That's like what a half blade would look like, if you see what I'm saying. Like, my knuckles would be the bevel here. This puts a secondary bevel on there, which is where my second set of knuckles would be, if you see what I'm saying. I can't, if I had a neutron microscope, I could show you what I mean. Actually, if I just had a good camera, I could show you what I mean. But I don't, so... This is the most entertaining part of the video. I don't know, they say it's idiot-proof. I don't know if it really is, though, because... And I don't know how long to do this for. Some people say 10 minutes, some people say 15 seconds, I don't know. Okay, well, let's just test it now. So, after, 20 or so odd seconds with the AccuSharp, now it's cutting again. So I have no idea what the hell's going on. Does it work or does it not work? Because I tried this on my machete last night, and at first it put a serviceable edge, but within like 3 seconds the edge was gone. Like, there you go. This paper needs to, Okay. That's nice. I like that. That's tearing. I don't like that. It's supposed to slice, not tear. So within seconds, it's degrading. Some people have said that that's what the AccuSharp does, is it puts a single good edge on that, and then it breaks because it's a, double bevel. It's not... There, now it's not cutting for shit. It's cutting a little bit, but I I don't know. Maybe I don't understand. I don't think it's all that simple, really. I think it's something that takes a while to understand. So yeah, any kind of videos you want to post in response to this, any kind of advice, and, please, keep your, you know, your opinions to yourself. Facts only, which, sharpening knife in and of itself, I think, is just pure opinion these days. It's an old archaic art that I think makes some people feel manly man. I just do it because, as Miyamoto Musashi once said, a warrior must maintain his own tools. Which I don't proclaim to be a warrior, I guess. I think the problem is that we've confused exactly what a warrior is in our minds. The Americans have just completely lost sight of the psychology of the situation, at least in my area. And it's like we have a situation going on where you have a bunch of guys who are... Well, you have a bunch of... I call them derp. To me, they're the unwanteds. But you've got them, and they're all buff, which is one thing. They lift weights, which... It creates a pretty body, and I'm like, that doesn't actually have anything to do with actual effectiveness. It's pretty muscle. I mean, like, honestly, if you see a lot of construction workers or, you know, people who are actually doing real athletics, they don't oftentimes look like these bodybuilders, and I believe there's a huge difference between the pretty muscle and the effective muscle. The second thing is that they mark themselves up with like tattoos and piercings and shit like that, and personally all that I think says to me is that they're willing to destroy their own body, and like, look at me, I'm such a douche, my body doesn't mean anything to me, I'll destroy it in the name of looking intimidating, and we've confused this instant intimidation of, say, like a bear or a wolf with what it actually means to practice, you know, armed combat or combat of any kind. So we have, like, made this confusion in our minds that people who look like Vin Diesel are warriors. And I'm like, man, most people that I know who are in the Marines where, you know, don't look like that. And, you know, I mean, like, it's hard to describe. We watch so much of this, you know, like we play these video games where we have these like ultra derpish, you know, heroes who are all like, I'm Private so-and-so of so-and-so division. I'm like, yeah, they're not really like that in reality. I don't think Marines really, that's not an accurate depiction of life in the military, but, I mean, okay, a kind of misconception that in the military you're mostly, or at least in the Marines, that you're mostly doing strength training. In reality, aren't you really mostly doing, cardiovascular training, distance training? Isn't it more running laps and marching and learning to work like a team? You know, it's the mental aspect. I just think that we've completely oversimplified in our society, you know, what it means to be battle ready to the point where we have, I don't know, this weird obsession with violence, but it's not an obsession with the, and then we have people who like go to the gym and lift weights and then compare themselves to the samurai or like to the, you know, berserker troops. I'm just like, or knights, and I'm thinking, I think it's a little bit more complex than lifting weights and having a douchey, you know, muscle shirt and tattoos and piercings, buddy. I really do. I think the knight had a lot more skill. And that takes training and culture. Anyway, this has been a long, pissed off rant that I shouldn't even publish, but what have you come to expect from me?